When planning the road to success, there are a few steps to keep in mind. Identifying and solving the cause, facing and embracing change, goal setting, and being accountable. We'll talk about this today on Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. New and healthier habits lead to prosperity in all areas of your life and business. Now, here's your host, Chris Salem.
Welcome to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us here and new to the show, you found us here at the Lisbon platform with Voice America. Welcome. Again, we've been around now for over 8 years. Yes, we want to thank all those loyal listeners that have been with us from day one back on May 15th of 2017. It's hard to believe it's been that long that we've been on the air, but we want to thank you listeners each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success, as we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts from all areas of business, including life, and giving their personal experiences and perspectives and insights and helping you and your business get to the next level. And again, we want to welcome the new listeners again. You could also listen to us not only on Lisbon here with Sustainable Success, but also on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, the audio version of YouTube, and our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. And again, you could watch any of the past shows we had over the years there, and there is a wealth of information. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. And again, we have a great show today. We all know here we love stories. Well, this is a powerful story. We're going to be talking about breathing new life into business, a CEO's journey through cancer and transplant to business success. Yes, it means some of you that have been with us, we've heard your stories. And again, you're going to hear something else that could reinforce if you are hitting a glitch or a major challenge right now in your personal life, or it could be your business. You're not alone, and nonetheless, you're going to get through it. And who we're going to be sharing that with here today is somebody I've already had an opportunity to meet. She is a wonderful human being, and you're going to find out more about her. Her name is Cynthia Gormazano. She is the founder and CEO of Synergy Physical and Occupational Therapy in New York City, a premier orthopedic physical therapy practice she established back in 2001. Starting from a tiny 150 square foot office as a solo practitioner, she has grown the company to 7 locations throughout New York City and Brooklyn with 30 providers and approximately 50 employees. She is a licensed physical therapist with a master's degree from Nova Southeastern University, who initially studied international policy at Hebrew University in Jerusalem before pivoting to healthcare. What makes her story truly remarkable is her personal journey of resilience. As a 3-time lymphoma survivor, she grew her business while undergoing cancer treatments, getting married, having children, and she was told she may never have. 2 years ago, she faced another health crisis, was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis as a result of her chemotherapy and underwent double lung transplant. I mean, you talk about someone that perseveres. Since returning to work post-transplant, she has led her company to a 30% revenue increase, while productivity improved by 10%, demonstrating her exceptional leadership abilities and incredible spirit. And without further ado, we welcome Cynthia Gormazano to the show. Cynthia, how you doing today?
I'm well. That's some introduction. Sort of can't believe that's my story when you say it all like that.
Well, it's true. It's true. And, we love...
But it's over our 30-year journey, so it's not like it all happened at the same time.
No, it's always journey. Like that. I understand. I've been there. My journey has been over a long period of time. It didn't happen overnight. But nonetheless, Let's talk a little bit about the backstory. Resilience is oftentimes something where people always may see it as a situational thing. You go through... Maybe you lost a loved one. Maybe you had cancer and then you overcame it, or you got a divorce, or you lost your job, or your business, you went out of business. Whatever it may be, that people sometimes see that as a situational thing. But what if it's, what if it's a daily thing, but not that we're reacting to it. We're actually embracing it. We're learning from it. Share a
Well,
little
I
bit.
feel like
Yeah.
no matter what challenge you're presented, whether it's health, emotional, it's all the same tools to cope, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on the positive, finding your why. And once you find your why, you'll figure out your how,
Yeah.
right? So that's a common theme. And it's interesting because I never thought about it, but when I started writing a book, every single thing, every single challenge had the same reaction. Whatever it's going to be, I'm going to get over it. Whatever it is, let's get through it. So it's coping, and everybody copes differently. I definitely am a doer, and I tend to absorb the diagnosis or absorb the challenge and then figure out a solution. I am a physical therapist, so I always have like short-term goals, long-term goals, and I try to figure out how I'm going to get there, no matter what the challenge. So the first time I was diagnosed with lymphoma was 9 months after my father died. And I was diagnosed with the best cancer to get, Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I knew he told me it's 6 months of treatment. I just got to get through 6 months of treatment. And then, of course, during the course of the treatment, one of the chemos made my lungs have an adverse reaction. So they pulled one, extended the treatment. So I was like, okay, it's 8 months now. Just get through it. It's just no matter what the challenge, it's figuring out the solution and focusing on the solution.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, human nature, when you're sick and you're struggling, you feel like crap. You can acknowledge that when you're in it. But knowing tomorrow will be better is what I always hang my hat on. And I
Yeah.
find my why and I figure out the how.
That's fabulous. I love that. And like you said, like you look at it sounds like what you shared, like nobody wants to get news like that, right? It's not like, hey, yeah, I wake up and I want to go through this. It's just it is life. But nonetheless, like you didn't see it as a victim. You didn't see it as an excuse. You saw it as, okay, it's happening and I have a choice. Do I react to it? Do I respond to it? And you chose to respond. And now,
I also
yeah,
find the benefit of it, right? So it just gave me a deeper connection to my patients. I was able to share their pain in a different perspective. My empathy grew much deeper. And even though I was treating orthopedic patients, and it's not cancer, it's everything is so subjective and it's their experience, what they're dealing with. Orthopedic pain can really be debilitating. You cannot walk, you cannot participate in your running or cycling, and it changes your life. I knew I was going to be fine. No matter what, I was going to be fine. It never occurred to me that I wouldn't be fine, no matter what. It just never came into my psyche. It sucked that my friends were getting engaged and getting married at 27 and I was going through chemo and had to get a freaking wig. But I knew it was temporary and I knew I'd get there too.
yeah, you didn't like wallow in pity. You just it's acceptance, right? You're not accepting that this is the way it's going to be but you're accepting for what it is right now, and you're going to do your best to
Or it's
rise above.
denial that this is bad.
Well, yeah,
I
yeah, it could
never,
be that too, but yeah. Hopefully,
yeah,
but
yeah, I'm
hopefully
going to be
not
fine.
denial that you didn't take action, but you did take action.
Correct. Why don't you take action? You deny that anything bad's going to happen. I'm going to get through it. I'm not in those numbers. They tell you like all the statistics, but I don't care. The statistics is like 50% yes or no. And I'm always the yes. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's what yeah, you're spot on what you're saying. So getting back to this topic, breathing new life into the business, and again, this could be for the owner, a business owner, just like yourself, there's going to be ups and downs, whether if it's in the business, whether if it's something personal going on that now could have an impact on the business, or vice versa, the business can have an impact on something personal going on, your health, your mental well-being, whatever it may be. Talk a little bit about your journey, to kind of set the stage. And then and then as we get into it, like what some people listening that might be going through something similar, or maybe not to the degree you did, or maybe some that are
But
that
any
what they could
package
do
you
different.
have, the challenges are the same. How can I get through tomorrow? How can I get the other side of this? What's going to propel me to sit through this terribleness. And it is terrible. There are a lot of obstacles. I mean, I'm constantly going through obstacles in healthcare, whether it's with insurance or teammates or patients that complain or have fires that don't want to pay or have an explosive reaction at the front desk. There's always those scenarios in any situation. And in healthcare, you're constantly blocking and tackling. So it's always finding a solution and sticking to that, looking at how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
It'll be okay in 3 months. It'll be okay once I fix this problem. It'll be okay once I pivot to this. Once I find the right team and the right care plan, I'll be okay. Like for me, for example, with my lung transplant, I live in New York City. So I started getting listed at Columbia, and I thought I needed like a backup. So I got listed at Penn. And as I progressed and got sicker and sicker, and the donors weren't coming through at Columbia, I wanted to focus on a solution. My kids were like 11 and 13. It was stressful.
Yeah.
I pivoted and got listed at Duke in North Carolina. And I just left my kids with my mom and a nanny. And my husband and I moved down to Duke because I needed a solution. I never wanted to wait around. I was not going to take my future in someone else's hands and wait around. God forbid I got really sick. And I didn't want my kids to see me even sicker than I was.
Yeah.
And I can see they were stressed. So I'm just a woman of action.
Yeah.
I don't sit and wait. No one's going to tell me what to do. I find my own solutions and I don't wait. Whether that's in business, with healthcare, with my team, I'm constantly making decisions. Look, for better or worse, I could be impetuous and I pay the price oftentimes for making decisions too quickly. But overall, the overarching theme, I think I've been successful and I learned from my mistakes.
Well, I love what you just said because I was having a discussion with a gentleman last week on our show last week about, planning versus making decisions. And oftentimes, it's good to plan, but sometimes people plan too much and they might overanalyze things and then they're not quick to make any decisions. So, and your business and your life is only as good as the decisions you make. And you made a great point that sometimes they may not always work out, but we learn and grow from it and make another decision. But the fact that you made a decision meant that you took action. What could you share with anybody that's listening right now that has a hard time making a decision, especially in business?
What kind of decisions? First of all,
it could be any kind of decision, but like if they have a hard time making a decision for whatever reason, like what would you recommend that they could maybe do?
I would recommend hiring someone to discuss it with, like a consultant, getting second ears, and whatever you need to do to get to that decision. Being stagnant is not an option,
Yeah.
So that's the worst thing you can do is sit in it. Obviously, I've learned because I've made decisions too impetuously. So now I consult with either legal or other colleagues or teammates to make a more thoughtful, weighted, considered decision. And I tend to write things out like a pro-con column. I sit with my decisions before I execute, and I weigh the pros and cons. I would recommend hiring a consultant or getting a second set of ears to listen.
Yeah. I think that's always, helpful. Like not consulting with multiple people, like 3, 4, 5 people that can then now you're going to get perhaps different perspectives and it can be more confusing. But like you said, someone that you can trust that listens well, can relate and understand, and obviously has experience, like a good mentor, like you said, that can, look at it from a third party perspective.
Mentorship is really key, actually.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit about mentorship.
So I have a few friends who are much more successful than me, but I also have friends in different fields, whether it's marketing, sales. Another person I went to college with who has a similar profession, and he's done really, really, really well, and he just exited. I'm not going to lie, having a wife is helpful. I am the wife and the mother, and I was pregnant twice, and that definitely takes away from your time in a in a company. So men have a different sort of trajectory, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, he's been very helpful in, following his trail. And I recently decided to merge with 3 other companies so that we can have more leaders and more experience and more data to be able to negotiate with insurance companies. And I think that has been really valuable this past year, opened up a lot more opportunity and ability to scale, and also like-minded people to bounce ideas with and to figure out growth. So I'm not averse to pivoting and growing in a different direction. You have to be open to it. I also have a growth mindset. I'm always listening and learning. Honestly, and that evolved and I got better with that as I aged, from experience. I think that that's really pivotal. So picking the people you want around you help you grow.
Yeah.
And when someone around you is toxic, you got to let them go too.
Yeah. No,
recognizing the good.
I agree. And I want to, we got to go to break here in about a minute and a half. And I want to talk a little bit about some things that you had talked about when you brought on some other people, like some other leaders. But before we do, we go to break, I'd rather bring that up after the break, because I think it could be quite helpful for people that are, looking at, where they're going through a tough time right now in their business. So I guess in the next minute, can you, instead of we're going to start talking about what we're going to talk about, if you could sum up, again for the audience, especially those that maybe just joined, what you had discussed here in the first segment, in terms of, your backstory, and again, that you were quick to make decisions and persevere through no matter what was happening.
It's basically it. The first thing I would say is figuring out your why, then you figure out your how. Why do you want to overcome this? Why? Do you love your business? Do you love what you're doing? Do you love your life? Do you love your family? Do you want to sustain? No matter the challenge, you have to find your how you're going to, you figure out your how. I always loved life. I have an extraordinary family. I was raised by a very strong, big Sephardic Moroccan family. We grew up in a crazy clan, and my friend network is similar. I have a very large network, and I have a lot to live for. My husband, my kids, my business, my profession is very rewarding. I'm like a grassroots change maker. Every person I interact with, I affect in a positive way. And so my experience has turned into a very positive. And I'm blessed to be in a profession that has that ability to affect people. Now I don't treat patients, but I affect my teammates, right?
You create an experience, and I know we got to go to break, but when we come back, I want to expand on that, and that some other point that you made I think was quite valuable. Everybody, we got to go to break, but when we come right back, we got more to come. We're discussing breathing new life into your business, a CEO's journey through cancer and transplant to business success. Yes, this is someone that has been through not only cancer once, but several times, and has gone, led a life of complete resilience to the T. So this is something you want to listen to if you're just joining us. And again, listen to the show in its entirety. We'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we're talking about breathing new life into business, a CEO's journey through cancer and transplant to business success. Yeah, we are here with Cynthia Gormazano. And again, we highly encourage everyone who's just joining us to go back and listen to the first segment. Powerful, powerful insight of her journey through cancer, amongst other things, and how she persevered, never gave up, and persevered. And not only, putting herself in a position to now get better, but also always making sure that she was impacting the people around her. So again, quite incredible. Cynthia, you had mentioned something earlier in the last, or later in the last segment, about when you said to yourself, okay, I got to make decisions, and you make swift decisions. Every great CEO, regardless of size of business, makes swift decisions, whether if they always work out or they not, we learn and grow from it. You talked about bringing on some new leaders that perhaps the way I took it, and correct me if I was wrong, that could come in and maybe allow you to leverage what you do best, to focus more on your strengths, and perhaps they could bring more to the table on the things that maybe you're not good at. I know I had to learn how to do that because delegation was such a hard thing for me to learn, being a recovering control freak. That took me a long time, but when I learned how to delegate, oh my God, it changed my business for the better. If you could share that,
Well,
any insights.
I was never bad at delegating, but you have to find the right people to help you
Yeah.
make good decisions. And
Yes.
that's been powerful. I can tend to be very emotional. So having someone next to me, judging me and talking about how I'm going to do things, you can talk to a lawyer, but they have a very specific set of thoughts,
Yes.
whether it's legal, whether it's being sued. And then you have other people who are trying to get you through something in the least aggressive manner so you don't have to deal with legal, right?
Yes.
So trying to appease and think about different perspectives. And so it's very important to have different ears around you. And I find that very helpful. And to your point, I'm not good at everything. And so learning, having a leadership team around you that's diverse, that can slow your thought process, allow you to contemplate, allow you to weigh the good and the bad, not make impetuous decisions is valuable, prevent you from making mistakes. I've been in business 25 years now. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm getting better.
Yes. Well, hey, we're never, I know what for the last 20 years, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And now after all these years of practicing and delegating it, I now gladly delegate the things that I'm not good at, even though I know they're important and urgent. And I trust the process that these sources will do what they're supposed to do. And then
Right.
allows me to do what I have to do. And when we bring it together, complement it, hopefully, again, it's going to move us forward. So, yeah.
I just had a thought while you were speaking. It's similar when you get a medical diagnosis. You're very emotional when it happens. So you go to doctor's appointments, you can't focus. I am very blessed to have a lot of amazing friends who are physicians, and they
Yeah.
would join me in these meetings, and they would take notes and they would ask the questions. And it's very hard to absorb shocking news, right? And even I'm so blessed because this person I'm talking about has helped me really overcome some challenges. She pushes me to call the doctor's office back, make sure you get back in. I don't care what they said. You call and you tell them you need to talk to the doctor. You follow up, get another perspective. Like those things are valuable. So the people you surround yourself with, I'm raising a kid right now. He's about to apply to college. He's applying to college. All I care about is him being surrounded by good people, because that's what's going to be key. He will continue to be the person he is, but it'll be elevated by the people he surrounds himself with. I've found that to be true.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. And it's ongoing, and again, another thing I would love to talk about with you and get your perspective. And this is a word that, started kind of getting buzzed around about a couple years ago, and it continues to this day. And it's so fitting in the times that we're in, and this is especially true for business owners. There are things that we can control and there are things that we can't control. I always say you can't control other people. You can't control situations like the economy or what's happening in your industry. And that would be an example. The only bit I can control is me. That's all I can control. So in this case, if you could talk about the word adaptability and what that means through your journey, when you went through, the cancer, you went through some of these other setbacks, and how you adapted and continue to move forward. And even from the business perspective, if you would like to share, I think it would be quite powerful for the listeners.
So there are many different examples. First of all, the first 2 times I was diagnosed and I went through chemo for Hodgkin's, I was just going through outpatient chemo. So it wasn't that big a deal. I would go to chemo every 2 weeks. I would take a Friday off. I would have treatment Thursday afternoon. I would go back to work Monday. And I was able to function. I was 27 and 31 those times.
So we're still young.
Really
yeah.
Yeah. And even though I felt like crap, I took naps at work. I treated patients. I worked 5 days a week on the good weeks, 4 days a week on the other weeks. And I ran my business and I was fine. I hired someone to work part-time because I was growing. And when chemo was over, I just exploded my company. I really did. I got involved with triathlons and 100-mile bike rides. I did fundraising. And those community outreaches really allowed me to, first of all, make lemonade out of lemons, right? So I started doing events with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and Team in Training, which was a direct fundraising cause for something that I'd been affected. And every athlete I trained with needed PT. So my business exploded. So I found the lemonade from the lemons. I built a really strong, healthy, assertive doer community. Anybody who's doing an endurance race is a doer, very motivated, very driven. And I was surrounded by those kinds of people. I was up at the pool at 5 a.m. I would go to the park, Central Park, at like 3:30 and train from like 3:30 to 5. And it was an extraordinary experience. And those endurance events gave me power to know I can overcome anything. I was never an athlete, but I never gave up. And those endurance events, when you cross those finish lines, and I did Olympic distance tries, and I did 100-mile bike rides, they give you power to know you can overcome even when it's hard. So that's one thing. Adaptability was, I did turn lemons to lemonades. Adaptability, when the 3rd time I was diagnosed and I had to have a stem cell transplant, and I was admitted to the hospital for like 3 weeks, which was a different kind of treatment, very aggressive, but short. It was like 60 days on and off from beginning to end. One of my therapists resigned while I was being admitted, and I was freaking out. I hired someone that wasn't awesome, but he met me in the hospital. I met him in the cafe. I brought my little IV pole in my gown and slippers. I hired him in the cafe of New York Cornell Hospital, and he was not great, but I made it work for the time I wasn't there. And as soon as I got my strength back and I let him go. And I slowly, first of all, hired somebody else, and I got my strength back and I started treating. But adaptability, I didn't wait for perfection. I hired him. I did what I needed to do. I got through the 3 months. And as soon as I got my sea legs back, I went back to work, which took me about another 2 months or so. And then as my practice grew, I hired a team. And I did delegate a ton. And I started doing what I'm best at, and I started seeing patients. I did have 2 kids in the middle of all that. I hired a nanny to help me with that. I delegated. She took care of the house and the kids. I took care of work. I left the house every day at 6:30, came back at like 4. And I adapted and I got help. I was never afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to ask for help. I can't do it all. And I did well because of that. And each situation that presents itself, I adapt. I don't know how I've done it, but I try to avoid stress. I try to take care of my health. Um, my team is really amazing. It allowed me to go to Duke and shut off for 4 or 5 months. I didn't really connect at work at all, and things flowed. I also, in each office, I have a partner, so they can take care of the clinic, each of the locations. And it's survival. It's a feeling of survival. So you adapt because you want to survive. I'm competitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do whatever I got to do to survive.
Yeah.
Whatever I got to do. Business, health. They told me I'd never had a kid. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll have a kid. I had a kid with an egg donor, and she's amazing. I love her just as much, and she's the same as my kid that I had naturally a year before or 2 years before. I don't take no for an answer. Whatever the question, I was like, whatever, I'll find a way. And my husband was freaking out when they told us we wouldn't have kids. I was like, I promise, I'll make it happen. Stop crying.
Wow. I wish you were there when for my wife. I'm remarried, and my second wife could not have kids. I had kids from my previous, but nonetheless, yeah. That I love that your mind. You didn't take no. Your mind. So that being said, it starts in the mind, right? Your mind. Our mind can be our own worst enemy. But instead of reacting to that and the negative side of your mind, you tapped into that positive side. You always saw that there was a possibility that, yes, I can make, like you said, I can make lemons or lemonade out of lemons.
I have to say there must be something about the home I grew up in.
Yeah.
My mother, she never took no for an answer. Like never.
That could be, that was something good, I guess, that rubbed off. Because as parents, they rub off on us either in a positive and negative way, and hopefully it's more of the positive than the negative.
Both my parents were my father was very optimistic and positive and happy-go-lucky, but he was not a risk taker. He was very conservative.
Yeah.
He was an entrepreneur, but very conservative in his manner. My mother just doesn't take no for an answer. She's so strong and like a lover of life and party animal. She loves being around people. She loves, she's 80. She still dances on tables. Like, the woman is unbelievable. She just hosted the Jewish holidays. She had 40 people and she cooked the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Crazy. So I grew up in that.
A lot of energy. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that definitely has to do with my mindset, because when you ask me, I never thought of the negative. I just go to the positive. Yeah. I don't know why. I think that's my nature.
Yeah.
But you can work on getting there. You know what I mean?
Well, that's just it. I think for the people that are listening that maybe did not have that way of thinking like you did, or maybe didn't have a parent that you can model from, where maybe everything was pessimistic in the home. Woe is me. Everything is happening against us. You'll never be like those people. So why do you keep on trying? That type of thing. And, you, either way, it sounds like you weren't going to allow that to happen, no matter what was, happened in your background at that, So
I'm trying to think of, I think if you recognize that you want to change, you can change.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it. And I always say, it does start up here. It's how we think. How we think will determine how we be. How we be will determine what we become. What we become will determine how we do things differently, and how we do things differently will lead to different and better results.
It does take a lot of effort, right? You have to work on changing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure I have a lot of character traits that I can get better at.
We all can. I know my flaws, and I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at.
And that's the beauty of aging, right? Thank God I've gotten to 50 and I can think about these things, and I want to be better, and I want to be a better parent. My son tells me that you have to do that. You're not a good parent. You should be able to this, and you should answer me this way, and you should be this way. I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. I should do better at these things. I'm like, and this is why we have kids. You make me better. You'll be better than me. It's funny.
I again, it's always a process. We're always learning and adapting, like you said, and no, I love this with just powerful stuff, what you shared on adaptability here. as we get near the next break, before we get into anything new, I just wanted to say anything you wanted to elaborate what we talked about with delegation, adaptability. Again,
We all have choices. And if you
yeah,
recognize your impairments and your weaknesses, be open to it. And it's not a failure to know you need help. Nobody has it all,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Mentorship, teammates, diversity helps with different perspectives, people from diverse backgrounds, people that come from money, people that are successful, people that are much more successful than you, that have gone through it. Yeah. I think
yeah.
that's key to change.
Well, and there's, you just said change. We have, change is going to happen with or without with or without us. So we have to be the change. We can't change another person or situation, but we can change ourselves. And I guess that was what you were referencing with adaptability. You adapted to your cancer. You adapted to the other things that that were maybe a byproduct of the cancer and that you were dealing with, and somehow that you weren't going to allow it to take you down. You kept rising up and keep moving through and learning as you went and growing. So I think that's very, very a prime example for everyone listening here, and very resourceful on your part what you shared with us. We're almost at the break, but anything like any statement you would like to close out this segment on that you can share with the audience before we get into the last segment?
On adaptability?
Anything you like what we talked about, whatever you feel is timely or on your heart.
I just feel like anything you feel like you're struggling with, if you can identify what you're struggling with, then you'll figure out a solution. But you have to sort of figure out what you're struggling with, being honest with yourself.
Powerful. Again, don't get caught up in the challenge. Embrace it. Follow through. Persevere. And you heard it. It's about solutions, and we won't be able to find solutions and execute on them if we're constantly wallowing in the problem. Excellent advice.
You said something very important. Following through is so key.
Following through. Awesome. Well, we got more to come here with Cynthia, everybody. So we hope that you're getting some great value, which I am. And she's shared a lot of stuff. We encourage you again to listen to the show in its entirety. Share it with a colleague as well. There's a wealth of information that she shared here. We got more to come. We got our last segment when we come back, and you're going to be able to find out how to get in contact with Cynthia as well here later in the show. So make sure to come back, and we'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com. Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today. You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. We're talking about breathing new life into business, a CEO's journey through cancer and transplant to business success. We are talking to our subject matter expert. If you're just joining us here, Cynthia Gormazano. Again, we encourage you to make sure that you listen to the last segment. You're going to find out all of her contact information here later today. And we also have it also on the site for the episode where you can find out all of her information and her background. And again, we encourage everyone at the end, make sure to connect with Cynthia, especially with all the great value that she has given us here today. So, Cynthia, let's talk about the mindset. Even though we were talking about some aspects of it a little bit with the second and first segment, how I guess a daily mindset of gratitude and resilience and perseverance and whatever you like to share, why that's so important.
Well, if you think about where you want to go, it's the mindset of how you're going to get there. It's the positive thinking. It's the, of course I will get there. Of course I'll be fine. Of course I'll be. So mindset for me is everything. I always knew I would succeed in what I wanted to do. I loved what I did. It never felt like working. And I knew every time I got diagnosed with something, I knew that I loved my life so much that I just had to get through. It's a mindset of course I'll be fine. Of course I'll get through it. Of course I'm going to find a match for lungs. Of course I'm going to be the one that recovers. And I even told my doctor, who's my age, I was like, listen, buddy, we're going to live to 83. So you can't retire until I'm done. And he laughed at me. But like, I'm going to be that one. I said, initially, he didn't want to take me because I was already listed at Columbia. But I was like, I'm going to be your best number. You got to take me. I'm going to be your best. So he did eventually. Like, I convinced him. It was a mindset of, I'm coming down there. You're going to take me.
Yeah.
And I will be your best patient. And I will help your stats.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you made it happen. You took something like, hey, this can't happen. This is, or some people might see that there's no way this could happen. And you've shared something that you found a way to make it happen. And people sometimes are like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty aggressive going down to Duke.
Yeah.
And Columbia couldn't even believe it. Columbia could not believe that I left. They actually called me the day after my transplant, like 2 days after my transplant, and told me I got a call to be a backup. And I was like, you guys are too late.
Too late. I already got it.
It was very funny.
Well, like I said, if there's a will, there's a way. You were doing this for yourself. You were doing this for your husband, your kids, your family, your patients, whoever else that was important in your life.
Life is so good. You just want to make an impact. I'm all about making an impact. And I felt like I have so much more to give. I feel so full of vitality. And now you would never know anything happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's really miraculous.
Well, what can you share if there was any process that you did to shift your mindset at any point in your life with these experiences, either if it happened before the experience, during it, that type of thing?
I definitely did some therapy to help me overcome my grief and sadness when my father died.
Yeah, I remember.
And then when I got, and at 27, when I was diagnosed, I was really frustrated that all my friends were like getting married and planning pregnancies, and my life was on hold. I was angry. That phase 27 to 30 was definitely a growth phase for me of developing more resilience. I was always optimistic, but the challenges felt very enormous at such a young age.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to die, but I was so pissed that everybody else was moving on with their life and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was pissed.
Get like a diagnosis at that age, like, that's an age where, you're young and, you're like, how can this, this doesn't happen to young people. Why is this
and
happening?
Yet it does.
It does, believe me. And I had something similar to what you had. It wasn't cancer, but it was a benign tumor that grew like a malignant tumor. It was very aggressive growing around my spine. And I had to go to Sloan. I lived in Sloan Kettering for 6 months, I can remember. And I was about your age at the time. Now that I think about it, I was 27 years old when that happened. That was back in 1994.
It's
Yeah,
rough.
yeah.
It's
So
rough.
I can relate to it, and while like all these other people, they're getting married, they're moving on in their careers, and here I am, lying in a hospital bed and have no idea where my life is going at this point.
It felt very maddening. There were
Yeah.
many weeks and months that I was pissed off.
Oh
So
yeah.
I had to segue through that, work my way through that anger. And I'm sure I went through phases of depression during it, but then I bounced back. And thank God I had a big light at the end of the tunnel. So I did tend to try to focus on that. But going to the weddings with a wig on was really, ugh. And then my
Yeah.
next friend got engaged, and then like another wedding with no hair. And oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not never easy, and especially for a woman. Like, a guy, maybe a little could be a little easier with that, but for a woman, I can tell
yeah.
that that could be very, very, very difficult. But nonetheless,
It's true.
you had your moments, but yet you persevered. You said, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do
Yeah,
whatever.
and I feel like you have to accept the phase that you're in to get through it. Like I accepted that I was sick, and I accepted I needed help. And then I did submit to therapy, and it was a long road. That was a long period of time. I worked really hard at it in therapy, and I think I grew up more in my 30s. It was easier in my 30s for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
process, and
I
you
guess
can't beat
we
yourself
all
up. You
have
gotta
our
just go through it.
I guess we all have our trials and tribulations, and some people have it earlier in their lives, some might have it in the middle of their life, some could have it later in their lives. So hopefully
100%.
the worst of the worst is beyond past you now, and now you can live
Amen.
a really great life, the rest of your life.
I will
Not to say
say,
that yeah.
maybe you agree with me or not, but when tragedy happens at a young age, you get to really appreciate life more as
Oh
you're
yeah.
older, right? So that's the gift of being sick when you're young,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you don't take it for granted, and you don't. I learned, I learned over that time not to sweat the small stuff. That my own reactions and my own attitude and emotions and behavior and negativity were killing me from the inside out. And I had to learn to accept that I was doing that to myself, and I had to make those changes instead of blaming everybody else around me.
That's
Yeah,
true too.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get married till I was 34, and I was dating all the wrong guys, and I had to make different choices.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
it's
that's
definitely
a
a
whole
journey.
other process. I've been there. That's a whole other process. But I guess, like you said, now you can look back now and look at where you were and where you are today, and and appreciate. I guess now, I mean, not to say that we again, but you can look at it more from a positive light than rather than it like, why me? Why did this happen to me? You can look back and
Mm.
say what it allowed me to become. I'm a better servant to my patients. I've made, I'm a servant to my industry, and I've created impact, and I'm helping more people help themselves, whatever that may be. So that's always a good thing. Always a good thing when it comes from those things.
So you want me to comment on that? Like
Yes,
try
please
to
do.
say
Oh yeah, this is conversation. Yeah.
how I got to where I am? Like what
Yeah, yeah.
process?
Yep, yep. Yeah.
It's certainly an evolution, right? I felt empowered every time I overcame something. It made me feel very powerful, whether it was finishing a triathlon 10 days after radiation and chemo in Lake Tahoe, climbing those hills, even though they were impossible, um, opening up one, two, three offices. Like, I can't believe I did that. And all those challenges didn't stop me. I just kept powering through. So those things give you a sense of pride. And I don't have many regrets because I'm not risk averse. So I do things and then I figure out how to get through it, for better or worse. I'm not saying everybody should be so risk averse, but I tend to like figure out a business plan on a napkin in a bar or a restaurant, and I just go. and I rely on my hustle. But to scale, you need more than hustle. To scale, you need strategy, which is why now I've pivoted and joined forces with 3 other practices to have more impact, to have a higher level and deeper level of strategy. Thinking about hiring fractional CFOs and fractional COOs and fractional CEOs, someone who knows more than me, who's done this before, who's scaled. And those things are important. Hiring consultants to do things that I can't do. So those things are all adaptability, recognizing my weaknesses, and I guess continuing to pivot.
Yeah. No, and I love the fact that, getting help, and, I know that, some business owners never get that. I work with a lot of business owners because I'm a consultant for them, not only personally, but also in their businesses, and even working with their people. And that is so important. And I've had them in my business because even though I can teach this to other people, I can't always see it for myself. I can't see, it's like we can't see our own blind spots, even though you might see it in other people. You can't see it in yourself. So it's always great to have, like you said, coaches, consultants.
100%, though I am getting better at recognizing my blind spots because I can see the things that I'm not good at, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I have failures or problems or what's the word?
Conflicts or challenges. I always like to say in just challenges, in every.
Agree. Sometimes my communication style is not as effective as it could be. So lots of reading, like Harvard Business Review and like executive coaching is really key for me. Being surrounded by other mentors helps me elevate. And reading, lots of reading, self-help books, business books, success stories.
Yep, exactly. Yep, powerful stuff. Well, this is, we're getting towards the end of the show, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be here. I know you've had a busy schedule this week, and you're here with us sharing this great wisdom, your personal experience. Want to thank you personally from not only myself, but also the rest of the team here at Sustainable Success. And I want to make sure the listeners, get a chance to get to know you, and how they can connect with you. And I'd like to leave this time where if you could share, how can they get in contact with you? What are you up to, and anything that you'd like to provide or share with them?
Well, I'm currently scaling our company, opening more practices across New York. You can email me at Cynthia G at Synergy PT. You can follow me personally on Instagram. It's Cynthia Gormazano. You can follow Synergy PT on Instagram, and my website is synergypt.com. And you can check us out there, and all of those ways are ways you can communicate or reach out to me.
Excellent. And we'll make sure everybody that all that contact information is in the show notes under this episode, so you can find it there. For any reason you didn't have a pen to write it down, it's in the show notes. And we encourage you to reach out, connect with her on Instagram, reach out by email, get connected in other ways. Again, it's through these connections that can help transform either where you are personally or anywhere in your business. So make sure to do that. So as we ready to close out the show, anything, Cynthia, for the next, a quick closing statement on your part that you'd like to leave the listeners to take action?
I guess it's never take no for an answer. And when you see a barrier, just figure out how to get through it or around it. Never take. That's my motto.
Don't take no for an answer. Yeah, no doesn't mean forever, right? It might be no for right now, but it doesn't mean it's no. You just got to find another way to align to the challenge that can now unlock an opportunity that which you clearly demonstrated with the lung transplant, and how you didn't have to bank on Columbia or Penn. You were able to get it through Duke. So powerful there in terms of that. Well, this has been great. Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And listeners, our pleasure. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success. Again, we are committed in bringing in subject matter experts like Cynthia in each and every week to help move you and your business to the next level, both on a professional and personal level. So again, we cover a wide variety of different content. And if there isn't content we've yet covered that you would like to see on a future show, as long as it aligns to our values here at Sustainable Success, feel free to reach out to our team here at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. We'd be more than happy to take that down and see what we can do to have that on a future show. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you here next Thursday, same time at 5 p.m. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into Sustainable Success. Be sure to join Chris Salem and his guests every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Have an incredible week.